Emma Carter had the life many dream of: a loving husband, a stable home, and a quiet, peaceful life in Charleston. But when tragedy struck and her husband was declared dead in a fiery car crash, her perfect world shattered. Grief consumed her, yet life demanded she move forward. Emma, now 33, had always believed in fairy tales. Her Charleston home was filled with warmth, laughter, and the scent of her homemade cinnamon cookies. As a preschool teacher, Emma was adored by children and respected by parents. Her marriage to Daniel Carter, her college sweetheart, was the envy of their circle. They had weekend brunch traditions, spontaneous road trips, and matching Christmas pajamas. From the outside, Emma's life appeared flawless. Daniel Carter, 35, was an intelligent and suave financial consultant. With neatly combed brown hair and crisp-tailored suits, he had the presence of a man in control. He came from a modest background in Atlanta and climbed the ladder quickly. Though he worked long hours, he always brought Emma her favorite takeout on late nights. He said all the right things and made her feel safe. But what Emma didn't know was that behind his perfect husband persona was a man under tremendous pressure and drowning in secrets. On a rainy Tuesday morning in October, Daniel kissed Emma goodbye, telling her he had a last-minute client meeting in Atlanta. Hours later, Emma received a call that would shatter her world. Daniel's rental car was found at the bottom of a steep ravine, engulfed in flames. Police found what they assumed to be his body, badly burned and unrecognizable. Authorities concluded it was a tragic accident. Emma's world collapsed. The funeral was closed casket. Emma sat in the front pew clutching Daniel's photo, numb. Family and friends whispered condolences. She couldn't accept he was gone. The church choir sang their wedding song. For weeks, Emma didn't leave the house. She would wake up calling his name, only to remember. She wore his hoodie every night. Her grief consumed her. 2 months after Daniel's funeral, the paperwork arrived, thick, cold, and full of legal jargon. The life insurance policy Daniel had taken out just a year before his death totaled $500,000. Emma had no idea such a policy even existed. Daniel had handled all the finances, always assuring her everything was covered. The insurance agent, a solemn man in his 60s, met her at the bank to finalize the claim. Standard process, he told her, avoiding eye contact. Emma signed with a trembling hand. It felt dirty, like blood money. The check was printed in silence, the bank manager offering her condolences she couldn't even respond to. She drove straight to the local credit union and requested a safety deposit box. She placed the check inside, shut the steel door, and turned the key. That was where it would remain. For years. Every time Emma visited the bank, she would glance at the box, heart pounding, but she never opened it. To her, the money symbolized betrayal, guilt, and the unbearable weight of a life extinguished too soon. Not a reward, just a reminder. Rachel Winters, Emma's 38-year-old sister, had always been the fierce, outspoken protector in their family. Working long hours in the chaotic of a Charleston hospital, she was no stranger to trauma. She had seen the worst of humanity. But nothing hurt more than watching her baby sister spiral after Daniel's death. Divorced and raising her daughter Haley alone, Rachel balanced her nursing shifts with nightly phone calls and surprise doorstep dinners for Emma. Rachel had never fully trusted Daniel. She thought he was too polished, too rehearsed, the kind of man who always had an answer but rarely asked questions. When the accident happened, Rachel's instincts screamed that something was off. She questioned the speed of the investigation, the closed casket, and why Daniel's phone records had been sealed. But Emma, buried under layers of grief, dismissed the doubts. Still, Rachel didn't push. She simply stayed close, showing up uninvited, encouraging therapy, and gently reminding Emma to breathe on days when the world felt too heavy. She suspected something sinister, but she waited. And when the truth came years later on a Jamaican beach, Rachel didn't hesitate. She was the first one Emma called, and the only one who had always believed something wasn't quite right. After half a decade of therapy, journaling, and gradual healing, Emma decided to reclaim her life. She enrolled in a master's program in child psychology, dyed her hair a lighter shade, and planned a solo vacation to Jamaica. It was supposed to be symbolic, a way to say goodbye to grief. She booked a beachfront resort in Negril and packed books, not baggage. The ocean breeze smelled of salt and hibiscus. Emma felt alive for the first time in years. The vibrant colors, the music, the hospitality. Jamaica was the escape she needed. Her room had a balcony that overlooked the turquoise sea. She sipped coconut water, smiled at the sun, and started writing letters to herself in her journal. I am no longer just a widow. I am Emma. On the third day, Emma sat under a palm tree sipping a pineapple daiquiri. Children played nearby, and reggae music drifted from a nearby speaker. Then she heard it. A laugh. A deep, unmistakable laugh. She turned, and her drink slipped from her hand. There he was. Daniel. Holding a toddler. Kissing a woman. Wearing a gold wedding band. Alive. Emma's heart pounded. Her legs were heavy. She stood there, watching a ghost walk across the sand. Daniel looked older, tanned, happier. The child called him Daddy. The woman by his side looked adoringly at him. Emma ducked behind her beach chair, tears flooding her vision. It couldn't be real, but it was. Years earlier, Daniel had started gambling with more than just numbers. As a financial consultant, he had access to high-stakes investment opportunities, and one of them, an international crypto hedge fund, turned out to be a front for laundering cartel money. By the time he realized what he'd stepped into, he was already in too deep. Clients had lost millions, and Daniel was facing a ruined career, criminal charges, and possibly a target on his back. The walls were closing in. He couldn't bear to see Emma's disappointment or the shame of public disgrace. That's when the idea of escape began to take form. After weeks of planning, Daniel orchestrated an elaborate scheme. He stole the identity of a recently deceased drifter matching age, similar build, and bribed a morgue worker to delay the records. He rented a car, drove it into the woods outside Atlanta, and set it ablaze with the body inside. Authorities never questioned it deeply. With a forged passport and cash from a hidden account, Daniel fled the country and reinvented himself as David Miller. He traveled through Central America for 2 years before settling in Belize, then Jamaica. It was there he met Vanessa, and with her, he built the second life he had always wanted: a clean slate, a family, a future untouched by his past. He thought he was free. But no lie stays buried forever. Vanessa Blake was a 31-year-old travel blogger from Houston. She met David while hiking in Belize. He told her he was a widower, a man trying to start fresh. They connected quickly. Within 6 months, they were living together. 2 years later, she gave birth to Liam. Vanessa had no idea that her husband was a fugitive with a living wife in South Carolina. Back in her resort room, Emma sobbed uncontrollably. Her hands shook as she dialed Rachel. She screamed into the phone, "He's alive, he's here." "I saw him," Rachel, thinking it was a hallucination or emotional trigger, told her to calm down. But Emma knew what she saw. And she needed proof. Rachel flew to Jamaica within 48 hours. They watched Daniel together. Rachel gasped. It's him. That son of a B***H. They sat on the hotel balcony, going over their options. This isn't just betrayal, Rachel said. It's a crime. Emma nodded. I want justice. They hired Dwayne Ellis, a discreet local pie with ties to the Jamaican police. He began tailing David, photographing interactions, collecting documentation, and even discreetly pulling security footage. Emma felt like she was in a movie, but it was all too real. Segment 16. Dwayne's findings within days. Dwayne confirmed everything. Hotel check-ins matched Daniel's handwriting. A surveillance video caught him calling Liam Buddy, a name he once called his nephew. Voice recognition confirmed it. David Miller was Daniel Carter. Emma and Rachel waited until Daniel, Vanessa, and their child were walking along the shoreline, just past a row of palm trees near the quieter side of the beach. Emma's hands trembled. Her breath quickened. Rachel squeezed her shoulder. You've got this, she whispered. Emma stepped in front of them. Her voice was steady, but ice cold. Hello, Daniel. Daniel froze. His smile dropped as if yanked from his face. His body language instantly shifted. His shoulders tightened. His jaw clenched. Vanessa furrowed her brow. Daniel? Who is this woman? Emma's eyes narrowed. I buried you 5 years ago. I cried over your casket. And now you're here, living like none of it happened? Daniel stammered. I don't know what you're talking about. But his eyes told the truth. He recognized her. And he knew the game was up. The color drained from his face. He glanced at Vanessa, who now stood with arms crossed and her face twisted in confusion and growing rage. Emma pulled out the folder. Inside were photos of their wedding, his obituary, the insurance payout document, and a photo from just days ago with him and Liam. She shoved them into his chest. You lied to me. You left me. You let me grieve you. And then you did this. Her voice cracked. Rachel stood beside her like a sentry, daring him to run. But for a moment, he didn't. He looked down at the photos in his hands, and the reality of exposure settled in his eyes like fog. Vanessa's voice broke the silence. Who are you? What is this? Emma stared at her. I'm his wife. His real wife. And this man is not who you think he is. Gasps from nearby beachgoers followed as Emma turned and walked away. Rachel followed close behind, but not before locking eyes with Daniel and mouthing, "We're not done." Vanessa screamed. What is going on? Daniel stumbled over his words. Emma pulled out photos. News clippings. His obituary. Vanessa covered her mouth in horror. The beach crowd gathered. The child began to cry. Daniel ran. With Dwayne's help and cooperation from U.S. authorities, Daniel was arrested at the airport. His real identity was confirmed. Interpol and the FBI reopened the fraud case. He was extradited back to the U.S. within a week. The news exploded. Dead man found alive on Caribbean vacation. Talk shows debated Emma's loyalty. True crime podcasts began profiling the case. Emma ignored them all. She wasn't a headline. She was a survivor. Daniel faced charges of insurance fraud, identity theft, obstruction of justice, and criminal conspiracy. Emma sat in the courtroom, staring at the man she once called her soulmate. He refused to meet her eyes. Segment 22. Vanessa testified on the third day. She sobbed as she revealed how he lied about everything, from his name to his past. She looked directly at Emma and mouthed, "I'm sorry." The courtroom was silent. The judge called it one of the most elaborate personal frauds in recent history. Daniel was sentenced to 25 years without the possibility of parole. Emma exhaled for the first time in 5 years. Emma used part of the untouched insurance money to create the Phoenix Foundation, a nonprofit helping women recover from financial abuse and emotional trauma. She began public speaking and mentoring. Vanessa moved back to Houston with Liam. She changed her last name and started a support group for women deceived by their partners. She and Emma emailed regularly, sharing their healing milestones. Rachel remained Emma's anchor. They traveled together, started a podcast on survival stories, and became closer than ever. Rachel's fierce love was the flame that never dimmed. 2 years later, Emma met Marcus Bell, a widowed counselor with a gentle spirit. He never tried to fix her. Instead, he walked beside her. They grew slowly, beautifully. This time, love was quiet and safe. Daniel sent a letter from prison. Emma never opened it. She burned it in her backyard with Rachel beside her. It was the last time she'd speak his name aloud. On the 5th anniversary of the Jamaica trip, Emma returned to that same beach with Marcus. She stood where she once cried, and now laughed. The ocean hadn't changed. Betrayal can bury you. But even from ashes, some women rise. Emma Carter was forced to grieve a man who wasn't dead, to face lies built on love. But in the end, she didn't just survive, she soared. If this story captivated you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. What would you do if your dead partner came back to life with a new family? Tell us in the comments.